Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight for our first meeting of the new year. Please rise and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. So before we get going with the oath of office tonight, we have two quick announcements. One is Employee of the Month, which we'll get to. And first, we just wanted to give a special thank you to Carl Davis, who was a dispatcher in our police department, and he was instrumental in organizing the Santa visit at Windward Way Park this December. He and his wife worked with the PBA to purchase gifts and to wrap them and to distribute at the event. So it was an excellent event that we had, and we just wanted to thank Carl. Secondly, we have the Employee of the Month. That employee is Mark Maddock, who is an auto mechanic for Central Garage, and Mark has been with us for quite some time. He was hired August 17th, 1998. And just a quick anecdote about Mark. This is Mark here. He has been outstanding, and I'd like to read something quickly about Mark, and then we'll pass over his Employee of the Month. Mark Maddock has been nominated for Employee of the Month for a number of outstanding reasons. Mark is the backup supervisor to Ken at Central Garage and can handle all issues that come before him in Ken's absence. Mark has vast knowledge of the entire village fleet and equipment. He has a strong knowledge of hydraulics, electric diagnostics, and fabrication. He leads by example, and his coworkers often look to him for guidance. During the completion of the newly purchased aerial ladder truck, Mark volunteered in his capacity as a member of the volunteer fire department to analyze the readiness for delivery. Mark Maddock is another example of the great workforce we have at the Village of Southampton. So congratulations to Mark. We've got to know each other a bit this winter, and it has been a real pleasure getting to know Mark, and we thank him again for his work. So thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. So with that said, we have a very exciting oath of office this new year. We've got the 2020 Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Officers and the 2020 Southampton Fire Department Officers. So I think without further ado, we can introduce them. But these are two groups of village residents and people here who do the very best for our village. So we are very excited to do the oath of office. So gentlemen, I'm not sure if you want to take it from here, but feel free. Stand here.
We all went down last night.
Actually, we'll do this.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Chris Epley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and discharge to the best of my ability the duties of
and discharge to the best of my ability the duties of
Chief of the Southampton Village Ambulance.
Chief of the Southampton Village Ambulance.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand. State after me. I state your name.
I, Shane Finicaro,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of First Assistant Chief
of First Assistant Chief
of the Southampton Village Ambulance
of Southend Village
to
Ambulance
the best of my ability.
best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Kyle McGinnis,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Second Assistant Chief
Second Assistant Chief
of the Southampton Village Ambulance
of the Southampton Village
to the
Ambulance
best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
You have any pictures of the three? Yep.
Down and join us? Sure. Please. Take my hand.
A bigger room.
Yes, because I don't want to. I'm going to sit only because I want to make sure. I want to make sure that it kind of stays.
Chief. Give him a little room.
Not all of us, or just
No,
me?
just you first, and then we'll do the rest of them all together.
Okay.
All right. All right. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
Anthony Stevens,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
uphold the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
Chief
of Chief,
Southampton Fire
Hampton
Department
Fire Department,
to the best of my
to
abilities.
the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Chief. Why don't you wear something that has your name on it? You could look down.
I need to see that.
All right. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alfred Callahan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of First Assistant Chief
of First Assistant Chief
of the Southampton Fire Department
of the Southampton Fire
to the
Department
best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Emmanuel Escobar,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States,
that I uphold the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge my duties
of Second Assistant Chief
of Second Assistant Chief
for the Southampton Fire Department
for the Southampton Fire
to the
Department
best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Everyone. All right, you guys line up. Which way you want them facing, Charles? Okay. Yes.
Yes, please. You guys go on to the side. Just come on.
All right, everyone ready? Okay. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will uphold the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the State of New York. And I will faithfully discharge the duties. Of state your rank. State your company. To the best of my abilities. So help me God. Gentlemen, I'm just going to ask that you come here and as I call your name, if you're here, come inside. Fowler's not here. McMahon? No. Duryea, no. Halsey? Collins, no. Pinocchio? Nice to meet you, by the way. No. Walker? Gary. Yep. Nice to meet you, Gary. Early. Pictures, guys. Aldrich. West. Captain.
How you making that? I'm good. Good?
Yes, excellent.
First year, so far so good.
So far, so good.
Headaches, no good ones?
No headaches. Good. When you like it.
That's right.
I mean, think of you guys. Real public service. We're just,
Yep. The one on Are we done now?
Diamond. Got you.
Good morning, guys. One is Polish, and the other
Michael Aldrich. Denny Lockhart. Perfect. All right, guys. Pictures. Photo op.
Okay. Taller people might need to be in the back, and again, kind of.
That'll be me. I'll be in the back.
We'll pick you up. Get on your shoulders. I can go on the table in the back.
Do that, please.
That's what I said. I was going to like sit across the table. Bless everything. Happy New Year. Congratulations. Where are we going to go?
Going out the. Okay. You know why, guys?
Oh, you got to sit up. Oh, sorry.
I should. Well, fine. It really get you over your break. Exactly. Front here, these gentlemen. You might have to switch down. It's your responsibility. We cannot see you, so please make sure that. I know. I think Al was standing on his toes.
He totally is.
I'm still not seeing the gentleman who's Eric, lift up, come on. Up on your toes, buddy, up on your toes. Gary.
Yeah, we can go and meet with them.
Get down, boys. Get real friendly. Got it, answer, got it?
Thank you. Thank you. Future chief. Chief, good work. Congratulations. Happy New Year to you. Yeah, Joe. Happy New Year to you. Good work. Yes, sir. Good, my friend. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Fantastic. Congratulations. Thank you.
Real job.
Good work, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Unless you're going to take the minutes. Okay. That was a choice.
It's up and down.
Good job. So they moved back here. They're here.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
So thank you very much to everybody. So we are all public servants, but these are the real public servants, and we owe everyone who took the oath of office a real debt of gratitude, because without them, we would not have a village, and so we are extremely thankful and appreciative for all of the hard work and all the volunteerism that the various groups do. So I just wanted to kick off the meeting with a brief comment, and I just want to take the time to wish everyone a Happy New Year and to thank our Board of Trustees for all their hard work. For those who don't know, this is supposed to be a part-time job, but for many of us, it's also a full-time job. And so when I see people like Trustee Parrish who work every single day at their business and work every single day as a trustee, or Trustee Polaro, who has a business as well and also has to work extremely hard here, as well as Trustee Allen and Trustee Ostremski, also giving everything they have to this job. I just wanted to take some time just to recognize all the hard work and extend some appreciation to everything that everyone does. It's a tough job. So. And it's nice to be back. It's nice to be recharged. I believe all of us are and ready to tackle the new year. And that is part of the job as well. Every now and again, it's nice to recharge your batteries, electric ones, and so we're ready to go. So with that being said, before we have our public comment, we have a few resolutions, which I'll quickly read. The mayor will ask for a motion to approve the following appointments for the remainder of the one-year term ending June 30th, 2020. Resolved, the Board of Trustees appoints Robert Deviney as chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees appoints Roy Stevenson as chairperson of the Planning Board.
Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees appoints Susan Stevenson as chairperson of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay. Happy to get that out of the way. And now we have our public comments. So anyone wishing to address the board must sign in at the front table to be recognized by the mayor. 3 minutes per speaker. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for our board minutes. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment? Fran? Thank you.
Francis Adamczewski, 40 West Prospect Street. I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And with that said, I'd like to hope this board works together, everyone combined. I want to hear everybody's thoughts and views about everything, not just one person. I want to hear all of you. What is your thoughts about everything that goes on? The village is in dire need of refurbishing the looks. It seems like it's going downhill, so we need to maybe look into that to freshen up our roads, our streets, the buildings. Lake Agawam is a big issue, I know that, but also my concerns were with the elder community looking for some help. People have been reaching out to me, and I said I would come in and say something that, you know, the older people need help to stay here. They can't afford to live here anymore, and they need help. So I'm asking you, Mayor and the trustees, maybe try to find some way we can help them, because I'm going to be there soon myself in a few years. So, I mean, they need help, you know, so our elderly community needs help to live here and stay here. They can't afford it. Maybe there's some way we can help with affordable housing. I don't know, but that's my thoughts. Thank you. Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran.
Very well said, Fran. Thank you. And I know our board as a whole would second that. We want to work together in unison because there is a long list of goals that we need to accomplish, and that's why we were elected to do that. I don't know if any other trustees or board members would like to add to that. But if not, I think we all agree with you, and we're here to, recognize what you just said. So thank you.
I think we can mention that we are working on a workforce housing legislation with Chris Talbot, and this board is looking to revisit this legislation that was put in 22 years ago by Trustee Hattrick and the board at that time, but that would allow private homes to create an additional apartment within the home and potentially with an accessory structure. So we're looking at that, but thank you for raising this to us, Fran, and we do really understand this issue.
Thank you. Is there any other additional public comment? Okay. Thank you very much. So we'll now move to board presentations. The first board presentation is tree planting, Drawdown East End, and we have Mark Haubner. Thank you, Mark. We're looking forward.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Kimberly, for putting this together for us. Drawdown East End is a grassroots, nonpartisan group which is building local solutions to advance the opportunities identified by Project Drawdown. Project Drawdown, in turn, is a research and communication organization which is most recently claimed by the University of Pennsylvania. Hundreds and hundreds of scholars and researchers, scientists, grad students got together excuse me, and figured out how much carbon dioxide we can take out of the air with simple things like planting trees. There are 80 solutions which are out there and practiced already. Some of them don't apply to the Peconic Bay region. 30 or so do, and we've identified those, and we're bringing this to the ground level to get this sort of thing done. We can reduce our consumption and we can improve our efficiencies, but at the same time, we need to be drawing down carbon as well. It's one of those situations where we have a budget and a timeline. Our budget is 300 gigatons a year globally. We just put out 435 last year. So we're way over budget. The timeline, if we integrate this with the governor's renewable energy vision for 2030, 40, and 50, these are also combined into what we do. Drawdown is the point of time when concentrations of atmospheric greenhouse gases peak and then decline or draw down. The number 15 solution, the first one was to get rid of the refrigerants that are escaping, dead refrigerators and freezers and the rest of it. It's another small project that could be done very effectively, but it has the greatest impact. Afforestation, or putting trees in places where there were no trees, is number 15. And that's okay. We need to do all of it. It's not something we can say, well, this is the best thing and this is the only thing we're going to do. We have a food waste to compost program up in Southold right now. We're working with the municipality. We're working with volunteers. So Vinny here talking about compost. Thank you. It's not going to be one size fits all. It's going to be different for every town, but the overarching plan will also integrate into the climate action plan that we've been asked to put together for all of our towns. To avoid any criticism, I've only printed 3 of these. If we're going to plant trees and cut them down as fast as I can put this out, it's not good. If you can take one of each of those to make 3 sets, that'd be great. I can email these. I've emailed some of these to Kimberly and can do this again. Basically, the program is on the long term, and my long-term vision is 5 years to get 1 tree per person in the Peconic Bay region to plant a tree. Right, so it's 1 person, 1 tree. It's 150,000 trees. We didn't want to do that right away. Don't have a place for them, number 1. Number 2, you got to get a pilot program is designed to get the bugs out. And it's to get people's input. It's to take that feedback and put it back into the program right away. My background is in community-based social marketing, creating social programs, behavior change, and sustainability programs, and this is one of those. We had 4 or 5 educators, lead educators, just really jump all over this when we started with this, with the Sustainability Committee in the town of Southampton. And we have 4 lead educators now. One's up in Riverhead, where I'm from, and she's in charge of 880 5th and 6th graders. So when I heard that we were going to have 880 trees to put out, I kind of backed it off so that the pilot program instead would be 1 classroom, 1 tree. So right now, I think we're at about 100 classrooms, and we'll be looking for places to put those. I got a nice email, thank you, from Gary Goleski. Is Gary here? I guess we'll meet afterwards. Thank you. Volunteering to take some. We've had the Halleck State Park volunteer to take a bunch. We've got individual towns willing to take a bunch. And we want to make this a very high publicity kind of effort, especially with children. And the educators, the educational portion of this is huge. Getting climate science involved and getting technology involved, and simple technology like trees sequestering carbon. So the carbon cycle is involved, the carbon budget is involved. There's a lot of science at even the lowest grades, 3rd and 4th, 5th, 6th grades. What did I miss? I'm sure I missed something. Do you have any questions?
How could the village best help?
Find me a place for 50 or 60 trees. That'd be great. And I think I heard that already, that we've got space for a lined walk, if I'm recalling the map quickly.
Take 100 trees.
Can take 100. Now, there's going to be a duel over who's going to get them now, because we weren't expecting that kind of a response. So thank you very much. So I could actually bump that up if we can find more educators and more classrooms. We'll have more trees. I got feedback right away. I'm not a botanist, I'm not a biologist, and I heard right away that these trees need to be together in a group to work the best for sequestration and for production of habitat for birds and for producing bugs and caterpillars for the pollinators and so on. So originally I wanted to send 150,000 people out to their backyards to plant a tree. Didn't make a lot of sense, so we took that iterative feedback and put it right back into the program right away. So the next phase would be to get 1 student, 1 tree. So maybe in a year from now, we'll try that and work that up as a scalable project, and then eventually 1 person, 1 tree. So it wouldn't be that everybody obviously plants 1 each. It could be, Kimberly does 50 and I do 30 and you do 10 and you do 2. So the average would be 150,000 at the end of 5 years. So the amount of carbon that's sequestered from that is in the gigatons. Globally, we're part of the Trillion Tree Project right now, and we're taking that feedback. You go into an app. We're going to release this on Saturday at the Arts Center. We're having a drawdown film festival, and we will be releasing on how to exactly do that. So individuals could sign up and donate 3 trees or plant 3 trees or 100 trees or whatever have you through an app that is part of the United Nations Trillion Tree Project. All right, so that's part of our integration globally as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mark, just correct me if I'm wrong, there is a film screening Saturday at the Southampton Arts Center, 3 screenings, one at 11, one at 1, one at 3, and then a reception at 5 p.m. thereafter. So we recommend that everyone go check it out.
Yeah, we've got, it's a World Cafe where we're going to have discussions about food waste and women's educating women, all of the initiatives on energy consumption and everything else. But we've got initiatives, people from each of those initiatives in the World Cafe as well.
Thank you, Mark.
All day. We're going to run all day, so don't wait.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next board presentation is Rove. We have John Paulo De Felice and Jack Brinkley Cook.
Hi guys, thank you for hearing us today. Nice to see you, Jesse.
Nice to see you too, Jack.
Yeah, so without further ado, I'll sort of get into exactly what Rove is for those of you that don't know. Rove is a rideshare program that we founded last year. It launched in June of 2019. It utilized Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans to transport passengers looking to travel from Lower Manhattan, Brooklyn to the Hamptons. We carried about 6,000 passengers out east last summer, and we are the sole form of direct transportation from Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn out here. To give you a little bit further background of the team, it's myself, Gianpaolo, and Jake, who's not here, but Jesse, you know, I believe.
You know him?
Yeah, so to get further into what Rove Loop is a program that we're launching in Southampton, Sag Harbor, and Montauk. A lot of our customers we found last year felt that there was a lack of micro-mobility options in the Hamptons. You have transportation within the Hamptons from town to town fairly well covered with options like Uber, taxis, and whatnot. However, there's no sort of short-distance transportation options here like a bike share program, and options that focus on really shorter distances. And so we kind of took this and figured we would take a shot at trying to figure out exactly how we could solve it, and we decided that by utilizing electric vehicles, much like Hampton's Free Ride uses, we could provide rides within the village for a flat rated cost, therefore providing eco-friendly rides, affordable rides, and safe and reliable rides. And so to kind of get further into how it works, much like a regular rideshare program, you download an app. The only real difference here between, say, rideshares that like Uber, Lyft, Via, Get, is that rides are restricted to within 2.5 miles of the center of town. That enables us, well, A, to provide flat rate pricing, but it also enables us to service sort of this unique sector of micro-transportation. So think if you were in Southampton Village and you wanted to go down to the beach, or you happen to live within a mile or two of town and you want to go to dinner and have a couple of drinks and not worry about driving, this is an option for you. As mentioned, it's flat rated. We're thinking right now tentatively $10 a ride. Doesn't matter if you're going 1 mile or 2.5 miles. Doesn't matter if you're one person or if you are 5. The cost remains the same. This is more or less the radius in which we are talking here. Just to give you a little bit of a graphic. You guys know this better than anybody, but these are some of the figures of what is within the 2.5 mile radius of Southampton Town Village. One aspect that I want to touch on is that we figured there was a unique way to involve the bus program with the Southampton Free Union School District. Our sort of peak operating season happens to be when this school is not in session, and therefore we wanted to and want to approach the bus program and see if their already vetted and safe drivers would take interest in driving for a Rove Loop when they're not driving for the school. A couple of the village benefits, well, because the fleet is all electric, It's naturally eco-friendly. We, just as I mentioned, it provides supplemental income for really anybody who wants to drive throughout the summer, but focusing on at least approaching the bus program and their drivers first. Increases mobility around the village, reduces drunk driving, and alleviates parking and traffic issues within the village. Some of the rider benefits is that it's affordable. We are guaranteeing responsible drivers and therefore safe rides. It diminishes the need for you to use a car if you are traveling those short distances, and it is convenient. And finally, to speak a little bit on the timeline of which we're thinking, we hope to have the program up by May 15th. And we obviously see it operational throughout the busy season, the summer. Ideally, we'd like the program to go as deep into the fall as possible, but by nature of more, the season ending Labor Day, we probably will diminish our season come September 15th. The hours that we're thinking is 9 a.m. to 12:30 a.m., but those figures are somewhat tentative at the moment. And that is it. And so, we recognize that obviously this program, we're able to proceed with it, but we want to work with the village and try to kind of come up with solutions for such things as charging the vehicles overnight and stuff like that in a cooperative manner.
Excellent. Do we have any questions from the board?
Yeah, are you presently doing this? And you mentioned anywhere in any other local villages or hamlets?
Sure. So Rove Loop, the regular program exists in Southampton, all the villages, all the towns out here. Rove Loop is not existent yet. However, we have met with the village of Sag Harbor and are meeting with the town of East Hampton. And so our intent is to, come May 15th, enter the village of Sag Harbor as well as Montauk and potentially East Hampton Village as well.
You alluded to the fact that you're right, we do have currently in the summertime a little ride program, smaller scale than what you're mentioning, but it does drive and operate within the village to the beach and so forth. The free rides.
Free rides,
so,
yes.
you alluded to that. We do have that already. So is this, and that's run by, and I like the fact that this is approached by, local people, local business, and you have been successful in what you've done with your other transport. So that's a great story. It sells itself. But we do have, again, a local group of people that do have a service operating within the village that we've given them approval to do so. Is this an addition to them? Is this a competition to them? You obviously run later hours, which is you're catering more to dining and so forth. So what's the differentiation between them and you?
Sure. So as exists in the village, Free Ride, or formerly Free Ride, they're now Circuit, I believe. They operate under routes. So I think that they pick up, I know that they pick up at Agawam Park, just right there, and they go down to Cooper's Beach. And they're more or less on a route. However, if you hail them, they will pull over and stop. We're trying to operate more or less, deliver passengers from address to address, town to address, address to town. And so investing in technology that, like our app enables us to do a couple of things, do exactly that on demand. So type in your address, type in where you want to go. But it also enables us to also keep track of everybody's rides, therefore providing and ensuring safe rides and trackable rides.
So this is a more locally driven, locally devoted within the business district, kind of like an Uber, like the already paid.
Correct. It's very similar. It's very similar to Uber. The key difference is that it's localized to the village.
How many vehicles do you see starting out with, and where will you park those?
Sure. So we're going to start with 3 vehicles. We ideally, I understand that, I think it's on the agenda today, there's electric vehicle chargers going, or proposed electric vehicle chargers. One of our hopes was that we could kind of work together and see if there wasn't a way to facilitate those vehicle chargers to become designated to the Rove Loop program overnight when our program ends at the end of the day and parking in the town becomes more available. That's one of the things we would like to see and accomplish. Yeah.
So you would park your vehicle at the charging stations after your evening ends, and that would be where they would be located until the day starts?
So that's what we would ideally like to do, yes. Obviously working with the village and trying to understand exactly how we could facilitate something like that. We don't want to interrupt with busy parking hours, since parking is an issue. But we do feel like there is potential room to navigate this, since the hours that we're looking at is overnight.
Can an individual access your vehicle with a surfboard?
So actually, funny enough, one of the things that Sean Paulo just texted me about this morning or yesterday morning was seeing if we couldn't facilitate surf racks for the vehicles. But I don't know if we will or will not now, but that would be, I'm a surfer, so I would enjoy that. Yeah.
Trustee Polaro, Trustee Parrish, any questions, or are you guys okay?
Yeah, we met with them a couple weeks ago, and
That's
they
right,
gave us a breakdown on it, and it's interesting. And some of the things you guys are using when going to the. What I like is that your drivers will be screened. You dedicate yourself to the 2.5 miles. And for me, I live in the village. It would be nice to just be able to just hop on and hop off, and know that I'm going to get home safely, not take up parking spaces for businesses that during that time of year can use every single one. And then the congestion side of things, if you guys are really operating like you are saying, I think it could be a pretty interesting, successful season.
And especially with the other areas, Sag Harbor, Montauk, joining in possibly East Hampton as well. I think that's, the greater expansion really does allow for it to become viable, because, more and more people will hear of it, more and more people will want to use it. And I think that will spark interest.
Two quick questions.
Sure.
Would it be helpful, and we could collaborate with you, if you needed a designated pickup spot in the village downtown, essentially so you're not pulling up on Main Street somewhere in the middle of July 4th weekend, but you had a sign dedicated with your brand on it, just out of curiosity, if that would be helpful at all?
I think truthfully our vision is to operate it the same way that Uber currently does, or a taxi currently does, following the rules of the village and the town. However, not providing a designated drop-off or pickup spot within the town. I think we'd like to see riders be able to hail the ride safely and legally to wherever it is in the village. Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
I appreciate that, though.
I don't know what the size, I know you're up-and-coming business, but also just want to throw it out there, if you'd be interested in sponsoring a charging station with your branding on it, something like that, maybe that's something we could talk about too. We have, I believe, 3 electric charging stations going in, which we received grant money for, thanks to, it might be 6 or?
6.
Okay, great, that's even better. Thanks to the help of Gary Gillespie. So there are electric charging stations, but just another thing to think about. You can get back to us on if that would be of interest. We could talk about whether that would be a good idea for us also.
All right.
But thank you, Jack.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We appreciate you coming to see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for the board presentations. Next, we have discussion items. The first discussion item is the ambulance capital project change order.
We had a late Tuesday email, then it's in your copy of it's in your packet, in which we have the ambulance project is in the home stretch. The general construction company believes that they're going to hit January 31st with, other than maybe just a small punch list, that they're going to be complete with the project. All of the subcontractors are for the most part finished, and then it would just be some small items and punch list items after that. One of the items that came to be was that when they called the manufacturer to come out to turn on the heating system, The manufacturer looked at the installation of the exhaust piping, vent piping, and said that they did not meet the specifications for their warranty. So in our discussions over the last 48 hours, there is some discussion as to where this issue came to come about. What has happened is that our Southampton Village Code calls for a double gauge vent, which is actually greater than the specifications for the warranty. They have a single insulated gauge vent, and the manufacturer says that they have never tested with the double gauge, and therefore the only way they will warranty the unit is if it is installed with the specifications that the manufacturer specifies in the manual. The engineer did sign off on the installation. However, the engineer signed off based on Southampton Village Code. So we're in discussions with regards to how we're going to remedy this. Obviously, it has to be changed. Obviously, we need to have heat to the building. We have to have heat to the building right away because some of the final finishing, painting, and things that they have to do, the building has to have heat in order to finish. The total cost of the change would be in the neighborhood of about $16,000. The Central Air Corporation, who is the HVAC contractor at the building, has agreed to waive their overhead profit and also do an additional credit of $2,100. So the cost now is down to $13,500. We're in negotiations with the engineer, discussing some things there. What I'm looking for tonight, though, is, and we have retainage money from all of our contractors. So, you know, as we pay them, we keep 5% of what we owe them in retainage until the building is done and complete. We do need to get this done in order to turn the heat on, in order to keep the project and get the project finished. So what I'm looking for tonight is a resolution that the Board of Trustees will authorize a change order not to exceed $14,000, so that, you know, in the next day or two when we get this issue resolved, that they can just move forward and replace the heating vent, turn the heat on, and close out the project. We did not use all of our allowances with all our contractors. We are still, for what we went out to bid on, we are still within that range of what we went out to bid on the total overall project. However, this would be a change to what was in the contract, so the board would need to authorize that.
Rich, I defer to you and would like to just get some comments from the board.
Well, Russ explained it very accurately and very in depth. It is something that, you know, between what our own code was and what the manufacturer states, and so they just got to come to a common ground on that. But unfortunately, there is a slight cost incurred with it. So as Russ said, it's unfortunately it's something that's unavoidable, and something that does, because of the season we're in right now, it has to be done. So it's unfortunately not an option, but of course it does need to be discussed, and we do have to approve it. So.
And some of the things that we got back is that we were supposed to finish much earlier, so they were supposed to fully seed the lawn. They didn't do that. We just put cover crop on, so we're getting a credit back on that. We're getting a credit back on some of the hood installation because, you know, we went with a different route.
Right.
So there are things that are moving back and forth.
Offset this, actually, you know.
Right.
So that's in the bigger picture. This can be offset.
Correct.
With other.
Except for the fact that we need to. This is not in the contract, right. So we would need to authorize it.
So again, based on as explained here, then of course I recommend we go forth with it. But you know, again, whatever the board thinks with comments or questions about it.
Trustee Allen, do you have any?
We're not meeting code. It's under our budget that we had set. I'm fine with it. I will say that I looked through our insurance book. We all are insured. And in it, it said that even a volunteer ambulance corps can be paid up to $50 to $75 if somebody comes to your house. So we should ask the volunteer fire department to potentially, when they go on their visits, put a little envelope there. This was Nancy's idea 2 years ago, and say, hey, do you mind submitting this to the insurance company? Because if we could get a few of those back, it would offset these.
The Flanders ambulance, it's a whole nother discussion, but Flanders Ambulance is the only South Fork ambulance corps that has put in place that that they charge for the insurance companies
for their
service, but that's a whole nother presentation.
It's just free money that.
But that was based
we're
on a
not
lot
availing
of, it was based on a lot of different conditions. That was speech running out of time.
Yes.
But no, you're right on that. That's,
Gentlemen, any other?
Yeah, it needs to be done, so let's finish it.
Okay. Can you just remind us, just so our residents know, what line item of the budget? I know you just briefly mentioned that. Could you just remind us where in the budget?
It's in the capital project for the ambulance bond, H8454, which is the capital project, the ambulance, which is the drawdown of the ambulance bond, which was a bonding of $5.6 million.
all right, well, that said, then I want to make a motion to move ahead with.
I'll entertain a motion. I'm going to ask to jump to Resolution 19. I'm starting something new in 2020. Each board meeting will have, each resolution will be numbered. So this, I'm going to ask to move to Resolution number 19, which would, it's not in your pamphlet. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes a change order to Central Air Corporation for HVAC work at the ambulance capital project, in an amount not to exceed $14,000.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, everyone. The next discussion item are the department head reports as of February 13, 2020.
So it has been interesting. So everyone planned for snow on February 13th because generally, I've looked back in the past minutes and meetings tends to get canceled because of snowstorms or weather. But traditionally, this board, and if it's certainly this board's pleasure whether they'd like to or not, it would be during the period of time in which trustees and the mayor would be meeting with their various departments, discussing the status of where their department is at this year, how have they met their goals and objectives for the year, and what their goals and objectives are for the upcoming year. And a brief summary is given by each board member. And I bring it up, and we can schedule it for the February 13th meeting if the board would like to continue that tradition.
Fine by me.
No problem.
Okay.
And also, keep in mind, too, you can bring in the supervisors of your respective departments. It's been done both ways, where if the trustee wants to read off accomplishments, or they've also brought in the heads of their departments and come up and break down. Like, for instance, that's what I did. The fire chief will come in, and the EMS chief will come in, and they'll give a breakdown. Sometimes a slideshow, sometimes not, and we'll do exactly what that. Yeah. So keep in mind, it doesn't just have to be you reading off something.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. With that said, we can move to Cycle Nation Bike Ride, American Heart Association, May 16, 2020.
Julie, go ahead.
So this is an annual event that takes place every May. It begins and ends at Rotation Bike Shop. Also, as part of it, at the end of the event, there is an award celebration, which they set up a tent on the property, again, the grassy area behind Rotations. As you'll see in the letter, I asked them to be very clear as to dates and times of installation of tents, porter stands, etc. That is all on there. As a courtesy, I always let Southampton Arts Center know that this is taking place, even though it's far enough apart that it's not disruptive. So this is an annual event. We've done it every year and have never received any complaints.
Well said.
Thank you.
I concur with that. Something we've been doing for a while, and it has been successful, so.
Julie, is there anything else you need from us?
Just that you approve that they can hold the event.
Okay.
Entertain resolution number 20, if the board is willing. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the application of Cycle Nation Bike Ride by the American Heart Association, May 16th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And then finally, we have the wetland fee waiver from the Lake Agawam Conservancy.
So in October of last year, this board waived the fee for a group of properties through the wetland fees for on behalf of several property owners and the Lake Agawam Conservancy for an application in front of the ZBA. Upon review, they did not follow through and finish the application and withdrew it. They are now looking to reapply and in time to do this project in the spring. And they are asking that, once again, that the village board waive the fee for the wetland fee in front of the ZBA. It's 5 property owners. Each fee would be $750. The total would be $3,750 in fees, and it was unanimously adopted on October 10th. Any questions or comments?
Just what is the project? I mean, what are they?
This is the
pressure of the bubbler
and the lily pad
right. Okay.
project.
Okay.
So if there are no further questions, entertain a motion for Resolution 21 that the Board of Trustees waives the wetland fees for the Lake Agawam Conservancy and the property owners for a application in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals in an amount of $3,750.
So moved.
For a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Can we, discussion? I mean, they withdrew, they've reinstituted it. I mean, if they don't complete, is it something that we would like to say, you haven't completed what you said you're going to do, and we go back and say the fees are now due? Because I'd like to see them complete something, and right now they withdrew their application of something that we had granted them. And does it make sense for us to hold them accountable?
Counselor, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
I don't have the answer to that question. It's something I could look into, but...
Trustee Rose, it was my understanding that that once it got too cold, some of the lily pads had died and then fallen to the bottom of the lake, which increases the nitrogen loading. And then so in essence, they just simply needed to amend their application so they could do the work later on in 2020. I think they had every intention of doing it, but by the time the ZBA meeting took place and permits were permitted, the time of year was not opportune anymore for the harvesting of the lily pads. I think that was kind of what had happened versus, I don't know if it was a following through. I think it was just simply a Mother Nature timing issue.
Okay. Yeah, as we've learned here in our short time here is that the wheels of government, unfortunately, with public notice and everything, move slowly, and that's really what happened. Is that they were ready to go, and
they
couldn't get on the agenda quick enough.
Okay, easy enough.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we have a public hearing on our local laws for trees. Now, I think what we need to do, maybe I'll let Alexandra, Deputy Village Attorney, just let us know what's going on here. Should we? Okay, I'll make a motion to open the local law.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
There was a productive meeting with landscapers from the village, and they had some very good thoughts on how to make this legislation workable for them. I've been in discussions with Trustee Allen regarding those changes, and I think it's something that this board would find workable. There's also some other people within the community that the landscapers thought that we should consult with, and that Trustee Allen thought that we should consult with as well. So it seems at this juncture that the legislation that's in front of the board and open for public hearing is going to require some substantive changes, and that it would be my recommendation to close this hearing with no action taken, give us an opportunity to revise this law, and then we can renotice it at a later date.
Thank you very much. I think our board said we were going to work very closely with the tree community, the business community, and then revise and then get back to it. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on local law.
Just a quick question. Does he have to just see if anyone does want to speak?
Sure.
Okay. So if anyone would like to speak prior to us closing, please feel free.
When you have the new legislation, what is your protocol? Do you put it in the newspaper so the public can read it, or what?
Yes.
When you revise it, how will the public get to look at it?
Well, it will be on the website, and it will be accessible in Village Hall. And
We'll also first pass a resolution to notice and publish it in the local
Maybe you
paper.
can put something in the paper, not
Yes.
as a notice, but just.
No, it has to. If it's a local law, we'd have to notice it in the paper.
Okay. Okay, Lane, come on down and just state your name and address for the record.
Lane Bretschneider, 57 Lewis Street. Just not clear, if you're closing this now, does that mean there'll be no more public discussion on this?
What it means is we're closing, as this was proposed in a particular way. As the counselor said, there's been many meetings and public hearings about this, the way this law is written. And the board has decided that we're going to do over with it based on public input. So the process, and this is just really going through the process, now we're going to close the hearing on this particular law as it's written, because we're not going to go forth with it. So we're going to close it, and it's done. What we're going to do is then go back to the drawing board, take this, and with the revisions we've discussed, and then present a new law, a new tree law.
Oh,
so it'll be revision of what, based on the public hearings from this and the meetings with the contractors and such and homeowners, and we will do the same process of where we will present it, a new public law. It'll be noticed and all that. It's a do-over.
Understood. Thank you.
And Lane, so your comments and Peter's comments and Rob's comments, they'll all have, that we heard in the prior meetings, will all be included. So we now, obviously, as Rich said, will renotice it. So with that said, Trustee Allen, please, and then we'll have...
No, I think the counselor represented it well, but obviously Mr. Relish is here, Peter, and we had a meeting with, all the prominent tree management and landscaping business owners in our community. A couple of you weren't represented, and I think they brought forth many good ideas. I think there was a lot of good support and for, creating a less burdensome and a clearer process. And we had committed to all of you that we would go back to the drawing board, as you mentioned, and we also would like to reach out to the developer community, because I think the headline was, you also care about trees, but you're often brought in later in the game. And one person indicated that this was the wild, wild west in terms of clear cutting. Remember that comment? Yes. So we want to go, we listened very carefully, we took your points, we want to bring that back, meet with this other constituent base, and figure out a process that many of you outlined would work better for you.
I'm not here, I'm not speaking tonight, so I'm just here to observe.
You were at the meeting, so I'm sorry, I'm looking over at you. But...
I have nothing to, I'm just observing.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate your support. Rob, please come on down.
Thanks. Rob Coburn, 345 Hill Street. On the topic of trees, while you're thinking about it and as the law goes forward, I've done some work to look at the street trees, the trees that are in the village right-of-way, which I know are not specifically covered by this law necessarily, but there are somewhere between 12 and 14,000 street trees in Southampton Village, and my estimate is about 30% of those are past their useful life, well past their useful life, and about half of those could be considered dangerous or hazardous trees. So if the village is going to put its money where its mouth is and encourage people to obey a new tree law when it comes around, it feels to me like there might be, and I know Gary has someone I believe who is now trained as an arborist, but it feels like the village may have another project to do to just assess the state of those trees. Anyone, Mark, you live in the Roscoe subdivision. The Roscoe subdivision has about 160 trees in it, of which about 40 should be taken down and replaced because they're dangerous. So I would just ask you to think about that as the village looks at trees. I think we can lead by example with a proper program and maybe some grant funding from the National Arbor Foundation.
We met today. I wish Gary were here because he could probably speak about this much better than I can, but with Jen Messiano on that particular grant of a tree inventory and assessment. So we're looking at that. And Mark, I don't know, and Jesse, I don't know how many arborists we have, but I think we have more than one now.
We have two.
We have two. Okay.
We are looking really at doing the inventory. We have had some core samples taken of some trees around already, and you're right, they are past their useful life. And we did have one in that severe windstorm on my street snap, and it snapped about 6 foot above the ground, and it was rotted. I took pictures. It was bad, and luckily it went the opposite way of the house, because if not, one of our longtime residents would have been in some serious trouble.
Well, just another 20 seconds. A lot of the trees that were planted here in the substantial tree planting period between 1930, after the 1938 hurricane, and 1960-65 in a lot of the subdivisions were Norway maples and similar. They are generally junk trees. They have useful lives of 40 to 55 years, and most of them are past those useful lives. So not only from a leadership and aesthetic standpoint, but also from just a public safety standpoint. We're gonna, East Hampton last year had one of their old elm trees fall down across 3 cars. No one was in them, thank goodness. But that sort of thing, whether it's a tree or just a branch, will start happening more often to that huge group of trees that was planted over about a 30-year period. We just got a lot of them in the village.
Yeah, we are going to do this, Rob. We are in discussion with Kimberly saying about Gary, and we're going after a grant, and it's probably going to be even a little bit more than our 2 guys can handle. So we will outsource that to get some other professionals to come on in, and we're going to do sampling into the trees, and we really go through all of them. All right.
All the 14,000. Did you count them all?
Yeah. It's an estimate. He walks a lot.
Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment or comment related to the public hearing? Okay. Thank you. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing regarding local law trees.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Prior to suggested resolutions, we have a communication to the board. That's the New York State Municipal WC Alliance Loyalty Award.
Okay, so real quickly, the Village of Southampton, a little over a year ago, switched workers' compensation programs from a company known as PERMA to a company known as the New York State Workers' Compensation Alliance. It is owned by all of the municipalities that participate in the program. The program has been very, very successful. It has a very robust safety program, and it analyzes its members each year and bases their premium or whether or not they're even going to allow them to renew based upon how they're doing with certain benchmarks in safety. Because they've done such a good job in holding down the costs and safe, they gave what is called a loyalty program. And even though the village has only been in the program for a year, we were given a check for $8,675. And just for one other note, our premium prior to moving to the compliance was close to $1.2 million a year, and our premium for this past year with the compliance is about $880,000. So it's a good program. It's been healthy, and when they do well, they share it with their members. So I just wanted to pass that on to the board.
When they do well from an investment standpoint?
Not so much investment. I mean, because they have to have a very conservative investment portfolio, but essentially they have to follow the state mandates on rates and what they look at something called your experience rating, experience mod, and that's essentially a modification about what the types of injuries you have. It's a pretty complicated formula, and then they have to kind of base a premium based on kind of a state rate. So what happens is if their safety program is successful and the members are successful, they not only try to lower the premiums and lower the rate, they try to give a rebate back and say, hey, look, we had a good year last year. Our losses were not as great as we anticipated. Here's a little something back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that communication. We can move to suggested resolutions.
Okay, entertain a motion resolved that the reading of the minutes of the public session for December 12th, 2019, special meeting of December 19th, 2019, be dispensed with, and that those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and that the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the claims for the warrant dated January 9th, 2020, totaling $747,910.76, warrant number 11 of the general fund, $134,300.32, warrant number 8 capital reserve fund, $25.50, warrant number 3 trust fund, and the village payrolls for the period from December 6, 2019 to January 2nd, 2020 be audited and approved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Invoices in the general fund. Boundtree Medical, $4,064.16. Medical supplies for the ambulance corps. Carlin Jacks, Inc., $2,500.73. Boots and safety clothes and uniforms for DPW employees. Carrier Corporation, $1,655. Service agreements for the Hampton Road Firehouse. Cast Productions, $1,535. Videographer. Cintas First Aid and Safety, $1,473.95. First aid supplies village-wide. Cook Marin Associates, $2,450.40. Additional vehicle insurance and accident health for the ambulance. Diane Corwith, $2,275. Medicare reimbursement. Creative Visual Systems, $3,350. Vinyl paint for the highway department. CSE employee benefit, $31,936.96. That's dental and vision for the employees. DNG Welding, $16,875. It's to refurbish a dump truck body in the highway department. Eileen Toohey, $1,496.25. Audit services. Epic Solutions Worldwide, $2,077. Steel barricades for the police department. First Presbyterian Church, $3,000. Parking rental. Fluid Imagery, $7,073.48. Computer upgrades, supplies, support, and maintenance village-wide, including an upgrade and strengthening of our firewall. Glencoe Supply, $1,765.36. Aluminum sign blanks for the highway department. Granger, $1,274.92. Supplies for multiple departments. Mark Greenwald, $1,000. Medical reimbursement. Daniel Guzowitz, $1,000, medical reimbursement. Herrick Hardware, $1,670.94, hardware supplies village-wide. Johnson Electrical Construction Corp., $4,008.87, traffic light maintenance repairs. Coppel Martone LLC, $31,986. That's a court-ordered agreement for condo owners from Farragon Condos versus the Village of Southampton, 2005 through 2019 assessment. Malvisi Equipment, $2,308.03. Bucket Edge Kit for the Parks Department and gutter brooms for the Highway Department sweeper. Dean McNamara, $1,000 medical reimbursement. Morgan Auto Supply, $1,597.09. Auto supplies for Central Garage. National Grid, $10,215.43. Utilities. Nelson Pope and Voorhees, $5,967.50. Consulting for various boards. Norsec & Sons, $5,192. Waste Management. Nugent and Potter, $1,926.83. Drainage frame was the largest expense in there. New York State Employees Health Insurance, $365,617.64. That's employee health insurance. Optimum, $3,041.95. Cable and internet. Petro Home Services, $2,141.17. That's heating fuel. Pitney Bowes Postage, $2,400. That's the postage. PSE&G, $35,727.08. That's utilities. Revco Electrical Supply, $5,124.46. The biggest part of that is for the Pierce Concert electric, running electric to the Pierce Concert property and other various electrical supplies. Ronco, $3,097.76. Paper custodial and cleaning supplies. Signify North America Corporation, $16,920. That's 60 LED light fixtures. That's the project that we're moving, changing all of our light fixtures to LED. Southampton Village Justice Court, $12,905. That's a refund of violation fees to the Justice Court Fund. Sprague Operating Residential, $5,113.80, fuel for the fleet. Suffolk County Fire Academy, $1,925. It's pump test for the fire trucks. Town of Southampton, $21,190. That's brush and leaves. Trias, $17,407.88. That's an emergency replacement of a stainless steel spreader for the back of one of the highway trucks. Vaso Systems, $5,416.41. It's an elevator chain assembly and a hydraulic motor for the street sweeper. Vehicle Tracking Solutions, $1,271.47. That's GPS. Verizon Wireless, $3,027.61. That's mobile phones. Veso Life, $2,723.41. That's a premium for the ambulance life insurance. VHB Engineering, Surveying, Landscaping, Architects, $16,036.36. That's for the work done on Cameron Street and Hampton Road, and what's the other one? Oh, and Hill Street. WB Mason, $2,441.82, office supplies. Moving on to capital expenditures. Alliance Systems Integrated, $6,718.66. That was approved on the 9/24 Village Board meeting for cell block cameras in the police department. Arrayus Design, $3,375. That's ambulance design consultant. Northeastern Arborist Supply, $77,598.57. Approved on the 9/24 Village Board meeting for a John Deere wood chipper from the Highway Department. PTS Data Center Solutions, $20,089.94. That was also approved on the 9/24 Village Board meeting. That's 50% of the battery backup for the police department. Rollins Electric, $17,268.15. That's the electric contractor for the ambulance. SCC Construction Management Group, $9,250. General construction manager for the ambulance. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I think we had a couple questions. Trustee Allen has questions, as do I.
You want to go first?
Please do the honors. Thank you.
First question is just on Verizon Wireless, page 19. Are these individual phones, or are they groups or departments? Because we have one amount here, if it's a group or a department, it's almost $1,500, and everybody's significantly lower for the others.
I would have to look when we go in and see how that's broken up. I can't tell by this as to whether or not it's a billing group based upon the time that they come in. If you can see that there are different dates that the bills came in.
It may be 20 people in this.
It could be 20 people in that one and only 2 in the other one, and so.
And we used to have phone guidelines, like we couldn't dial internationally and things like that. So.
There are with most the police department. You could speak to the chief with regards to the rules that are around with the police department.
And I think the other one is I think is page 10, Copel, Martone, Lice. For those who are new, we may not know the history there, and if it's not appropriate to discuss it, we can shift to exec session. But.
Yeah, well, it's a settlement of a dispute of the assessment on condominiums, and it was we went to court, and there were some negotiations on how we were assessing versus and charging on the tax bill, and this was the court-ordered settlement of a long-standing dispute between methodology. Most municipalities have a lot of difficulty with mobile home communities or modular home communities is another area where generally there's a lot of, conflict, because most of the real property law was written, many, many years ago, and so how you assess various things such as condominiums and manufactured home communities and things of that nature often lead to, kind of long and lengthy litigation.
If there's something we should learn from this, let us know. It's not as...
Any other questions?
No. How about you?
We will be needing and discussing a little bit later the fact that we will need 2 people for the assessment review, which is on February 13th.
one other quick question. You said that there was a electricity being run to the Paris concert property. Would you mind just elaborating on that?
Yes. So it's been our attention all along, because if and when we do any work on that project whatsoever, we need electric service to run from the pole to on the property.
To the building.
To the building. Well, right, and that's been long planned, and so essentially we're running the electric from we're putting electric service there.
Have we set aside a line item for that? Do we have different line items for each of the village-owned properties?
Well, essentially what we've done, for the sake of argument, with the new, I'll use an example, Nugent Carriage House project, for the part of the project that we didn't have grants for and didn't cover, and they're not something that were large enough that you're creating a capital project for.
Right.
That's generally what we would use trustee special projects.
Right. Okay.
Page 17.
Page 17, Rev.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Resolved, entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to limit line item overages for the period ending January 9th, 2020. Motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Can we just turn to this page so we can all have a quick look?
Sure, yeah, we can read them to you. Debit clerk personal services, $1,883.12. Credit law contractual services, $1,883.12. Debit street maintenance equipment, $16,300. Credit street maintenance contractual, $16,300. Debit street lighting supplies, $1,000. Credit buildings contractual services, $1,000. Debit Cooper's utilities, $1,300. Debit Cooper's contractual services, $200. Credit Cooper's equipment, $1,500. Any questions?
I'm good. Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that upon the recommendation of the mayor, the village board ratifies the hiring of Janine Brenner as a justice court clerk off of Suffolk County Civil Service List number 19EL468 at a salary of $51,285 effective December 20th, 2019.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby recalls and rescinds a resolution regarding 30 Bellows Lane adopted on December 12th, 2019.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay.
At the last meeting, you might recall that Chris Talbot came and presented two properties to the board that were that looked to be in need of some trimming and cleaning up.
Right.
He presented photos of the properties, and the board at that time determined that the village should take it upon itself to clean these properties up. We did pass two resolutions to clean them up, and number 9 and number 11 down here are essentially just clear versions of what had been passed at the last meeting.
So kind of like, so rescinding the
We're
original
rescinding
version.
the original
and we're
version,
gonna,
because
just like the public here. Okay.
Because I wanted to make it very clear what it was that the board is doing.
Okay. So rescinding the old, and then past this, we're going to authorize a more in-depth. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 9, resolved that in accordance with Section 41(2) of the Village of Southampton Village Code, the Board of Trustees hereby, 1, judge that the real property located at 30 Bellows Lane contains brush, rubbish, and weeds that are in need of being removed, and hedges and grass in need of being trimmed because the same has become a fire, health, and safety hazard. And 2, authorizes the mayor to serve upon the owner of said real property at his last known address and notice directing the owner to remove the brush, rubbish, and weeds, to trim the hedges within 10 days of the date of the notice. This resolution replaces the resolution adopted on December 12, 2019, and which was recalled and rescinded by Resolution 8, adopted on January 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good job.
Hence your numbering, Russell.
Yes.
Helps.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby recalls and rescinds a resolution regarding 134 Eel Pot Alley adopted on December 12, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that in accordance with Section 41(2) of the Village of Southampton Village Code and the Board of Trustees hereby, 1, judge the real property located at 134 Eel Pot Alley contains brush, rubbish, and weeds that are in need of being removed, and hedges and grass in need of being trimmed because same has become a fire, health, and safety hazard. And 2, authorizes the mayor to serve upon the owner of said real property at his last known address and notice directing the owner to remove the brush, rubbish, and weeds and to trim the hedges within 10 days from the date of the notice. This resolution replaces the resolution adopted on December 12, 2019, in which was recalled and rescinded by Resolution 10, adopted on January 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 12, entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the purchase of 10 multi-gas detection meters to replace units reaching prescribed expiration dates at a cost of $19,350.70 from Capital Reserve Fire Equipment, subject to permissive referendum.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
In your resolution folder, there is the, should be a copy of the purchase order of the request. These gas meters have a 5-year life, and they do try to stagger them so that they're buying, they're not buying, a complete replacement every year. These are expected to reach their maximum date that their useful life in the next 3 months. So they wanted to make certain that they could get these meters replaced. No further questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call. Trustee Yastrzemski.
Aye.
Trustee Allen.
Aye.
Mayor Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Parrish.
Aye.
Okay.
Forgot one.
He left.
Yeah, he's out, yeah. Okay, Resolution 13, entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves a 48-month lease renewal with Pitney Bowes for a postage meter at Justice Court at a cost of $332.28 per quarter. You don't have to flip the page. I'll just read to you that it actually is a savings of $18.72 per quarter from the prior lease that we had.
We'll take it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion to resolve that the sale of tax liens on all unpaid real property taxes for the fiscal year 2019-2020 will be held at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, March 10th, 2019 in the Boardroom, Municipal Building, 23 Main Street, Southampton, New York, and that the notice to this effect be published in the official newspaper, the Southampton Press.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Yes.
Should that read March 10th, 2020?
Yes.
Yes, it should. Okay. I believe that's Scrivener's. I don't need to amend, right?
Well, it's by a year, so
All right.
I think we should.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to amend the resolution to read Tuesday, March 10th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor of the underlying resolution?
Aye.
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 Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Stephen Idelson as a probationary member of the Agawam Engine Company No. 1 effective January 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves Luke Corrigan as a probationary member of the Hook and Ladder Company No. 1 effective January 9th, 2020.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion resolved that the Board of Trustees appoints Ian Duke to the Business Revitalization Committee.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Entertain a motion, whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has announced funding for municipalities to install clean vehicle infrastructure that supports the development of clean vehicle technology for public use through the 2019 Municipal Zero Emission Infrastructure Grants Program, and whereas the village intends to install electric vehicle charging stations at 3 proposed locations in the village on West Main Street, Agawam Park, and Railroad Plaza, and whereas the ZEV program requires separate applications to be submitted for each proposed ZEV infrastructure location, whereas the ZEV program provides funding to furnish and install eligible infrastructure and may support certain operating costs for a period of 2 years, and whereas the ZEV program requires applicants to provide matching funds in the amount of 20% of the requested grant funds. Therefore, be it resolved that the village board of the Village of Southampton hereby appoint submission of 3 grant applications to the ZEV program for the following estimated amounts: West Main, grant request $7,695, match $1,539; Agawam, grant request $7,496, match $1,249; Railroad Plaza, grant request $8,899, match $1,483, and be it further resolved that the mayor or his designee is authorized to sign any and all documents associated with the grant application.
Very nice.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Sounded like those disclaimer parts of the ad reading so fast.
Those matching, we'll put those aside, right?
Yes.
So thank you very much for that. We now have comments from board members. Trustee Ostremski.
Just Happy New Year, everybody. It's a new year, so I have very good hopes how this board's going to operate going forward, as it's been asked a couple times tonight. So I have very good hopes for that. I just want to, as we did tonight, we swore in the officers for our volunteer ambulance and fire department. I just want to recognize them for the last couple of months have been very busy for all first responders on the East End. A couple of high-profile houses, one which is on the cover of Southampton Press this week, both in Bridgehampton, where multiple departments from as far as Flanders to the tip of the island, Montauk, East Hampton, were called in. Big operations, but clearly Southampton and Southampton Village was represented very predominantly in both of those. Most in the recent one, when I arrived at it, we had, of course, our Southampton Fire Department and our Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance set up at their station to treat all the firefighters. So I was very proud to have seen, again, how strongly we represented that. So I want to recognize them and all the departments for it. It's been a couple of busy months for them. So I just wanted to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Ostremski. Trustee Allen.
Sit back, relax. I have 5 minutes of comments.
Okay.
Starting with, the press had a very interesting quote from someone stating that the fire department did a great job of saving all the pets at the Hearst Mansion, half the house and most of the art. So good for them. And they performed it beautifully and admirably. So how good is that? Something seems to be afoul at the post office. I learned today while I was getting my hair cut that a rooster was in the back room of the post office crowing away.
You get your haircut at the post office?
No, I don't get my hair cut at the post office. I got my hair cut someplace else, and the person who was cutting it was at the post office earlier. So the person who told me this had been waiting in line at the post office for 15 minutes and said that this rooster crowed loudly. And the folks at the counter joked and asked if everybody was awake. But the point I'm concerned about is I'm hoping this rooster isn't going back to the residence where the rooster was just exported, because it was wreaking havoc on everybody in the neighborhood. So just a heads up, Mr. Talbot, our revered building inspector and angel, keep an eye and ear out and let Brenda know. Also heard on the street, Trustee Hattrick called me this morning and mentioned that a police officer came to UBS and spoke to the assistant manager and said that they were going to institute strong enforcement or stronger enforcement for the year-round, for the 2-hour parking restriction year-round. And I didn't know if anybody knew about this or heard about it, or Chief Cummings, if you know anything.
By the way.
We've had quite a bit of complaints about people parking for an entire day in the 2-hour parking, and we're trying not to do enforcement. We're trying to nudge people from doing that, but if they don't take our advice, we may write some tickets. Obviously, to revitalize the business district, you have to have some turnover. So we're trying to help with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was a warning to let them know.
Okay.
To comply.
Since we don't have we typically hire the TCOs in the summer, so we don't have our TCOs yet. A few highlights on things we've been working on since last year. The Business Revitalization Committee is working on creating more experiential events and would like to pilot one or two starting this spring to bring traffic during the shoulder season. They have something in mind for March and April, more to come. I know the parade of lights and the window decorating contest and the ice sculpture displays and syncing up with all the holiday films and arts center activities really brought in a crowd. And Chief Cummings, were you able to determine, sorry to reach out back to you, how many people came this year? Because we were told it was a record number.
We have to look at the drone footage. Haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So we'll let you know for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you so much.
But they were record numbers.
Record numbers, good. I felt like there were record numbers, but that's just me. But anyway, getting back to the Business Revitalization Committee, it's just a terrific group. They have a lot of ideas. They talk to a lot of people, but we're going to continue on the website that was started last year, and I know you were involved in. I know Julie's been there, and I think Joe McLaughlin had also was very involved in those initial meetings. So if we have an existing website that lists all of our different businesses and then links into different events, then we'll have a one-stop shopping capability for the village. So that's one of the areas that's now moving along. Julie, chime in if I'm missing anything here. The other part is we'd like to look at creating a Southampton Village brand, and a brand expert told me that if you don't set your own brand, someone else can set it, and sometimes it's not what you want. So that's something that maybe this board can discuss on, how to approach. A little further out, I think we need to work more on making it easier for new businesses to come here. I know you're looking at the signs and that part. But interestingly, the group, we were talking about kind of internet and cell service, and the group unilaterally complained about how poor their cell service and cable service was, even affecting some of their business transactions. And we had always looked at repeaters for the western part of the village, but after hearing this, Gary would like to reach out to Altice and different groups and have us maybe do a diagnostic as what's going on. I think we, would have a lot of opportunity if that were working. Also, people might be more inclined to work at home and stay in the village and go eat lunch here and have dinner here if they were here and could work at home more effectively. And I know I'm looking at Ed. You live on the western part of the village. How's your cell service over there?
Actually, really good.
Oh.
Yeah, I have no complaints.
Really?
Cable and cell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Point not made, but we had about 10 people in the room, and they unilaterally said it was a big issue for them. But I'm glad it worked for you. We'll come back to you and find out why it worked. But anyway, just this committee isn't working in an isolation. Obviously, this entire board understands multiple issues. They're working on parking and traffic and making it more pedestrian and bike-friendly. So, even though each committee is working on things, they also have to kind of bump into each other and see how we can leverage each other's capabilities and ideas. So moving on, so thank you to this committee that just started in November. You have great ideas, and you've got some good things heading ahead of us, including a meeting with Discover Long Island tomorrow. So on that side, I just wanted to briefly mention the Water Committee. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but they pulled together a very good one-page high-level plan. I know we have Rob Coburn in the audience, but a high-level plan for cleaning up Lake Agawam. They're doing an outstanding job in aligning with other organizations and leveraging all the different groups to help along in this effort. And at the end of the day, we want to reduce contaminants, phosphorus, nitrogen levels in the lake, whether it be better landscaping practices, dredging, sewage treatment systems. It's not a magic bullet, as Paul Travis would say. There's no one solution. But I just wanted to mention that John Halsey has also joined the group.
You'd like him to be appointed.
We'd like him to be appointed. And if I've missed anything, you'll come up. Okay. I'm just hoping on the next agenda, since we're talking numbers and budgets, that we could figure out how to bring transparency to our large ticket budget items. We've discussed a lot of projects on the horizon. Obviously, many of the committees are bringing us needs that we need to address, but we need to aggregate these and collectively assess these so we can make the right trade-offs at the right time. We have sewage management, we have, runoff improvements. We had a compliance issue with the police department that cost us $300,000. No one's fault. The government says we want evidence brought forward in this way, and, it cost us $293,000 for the new system. Remember that?
Well, that's because the system we had was 30 years old.
Well, but all of those are costs that impact us as a village. And now climate change readiness and sustainability has become a much greater proponent of our bond rating. And Moody's purchased a climate assessment firm. And storm surge protection is a key thing that they're looking for. We have infrastructure upgrades like municipal IA systems that you've talked about, Mayor Warren, solar and, parking lighting, better cell reception. And I wish I had asked this to the two gentlemen that were sitting there, but I wondered if their transportation vehicles accommodated seniors and their walker equipment, because one of the main issues I hear is our seniors in the village can't get around. So that's that. Hope it was 5 minutes.
Thank you very much for your detailed and diligent comments, so thank you. Trustee Parrish.
I will make this quick. Thank you, Kim, for all your work on the business revitalization.
Oh.
We appreciate it. All the members of the village, people who work for the village, I want to say thank you for all the hard work they did during the holidays inside this village hall, outside on the streets of Irvine. A lot of things were put up, a lot of things have been taken down, and all through that time when it is probably not always the best time where you want to work, they did, and they did a good job, and I appreciate that. I want to sincerely thank all the businesses that were involved with the window decorating contest. It was really, really, really fun to go around at night and watch and see all the windows that were lit up, and people did some unbelievable things. It was really cool to see how everyone got together, got excited, and pulled it off, and really made a good feeling during the holidays. So thank you to everybody. The winner was Hildreth's, second was Mary Godfrey Photography, and third was Sea Green Design. So thank you to everyone involved, and we look forward to building upon it more next year. And last, Hill Street. Who's ever been driving down Hill Street lately can probably say that it's quite messy. So I have some good news on that. Gary Gillespie and I have been touching base since about the middle of December, questioning all the potholes. There are approximately 48 potholes on Hill Street, starting at the western edge to probably the Sacred Heart's Church, heading west mostly. Gary... Heading east. Heading east, sorry. Yes, thank you. Yes. Gary was great. He contacted the contractor. The contractor came out. Through some very good professionalism, he has gotten the contractor to come back. I believe they started today and tomorrow. They're going to be filling in the potholes, and then come in the spring, they're going to mill and redo it. So I want to give a great shout out for Gary to do that. It's all going to be paid for by the contractor, which is even better. And he was very professional in the way he went about it, and it worked. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. Very good. Trustee Blaro.
I'll be even shorter. Want to wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you for coming out. Look forward to working with everyone in this coming year. And really, that is about all I have.
Thank you very much. I made a few comments earlier, but just to follow up, yesterday I had an excellent opportunity and was invited to the State of the State in Albany. So took an early morning train up to Albany, up to the Capitol, and for the first time was able to sit in. We had the state senators, our legislature, we had guests through across the state, and it provided a good opportunity not just to meet people throughout the state, but kind of listen to what the governor had proposed. And some of the highlights of the State of the State was of the increase in infrastructure building. There's been a big push to build airports throughout the state. There's an interesting drone project in Mohawk Valley that's going on. On the upcoming ballots, there'll be a $3 billion proposed bond offering, and that will be exclusively dedicated towards water quality and improving our environment. So that type of money will be used to help bodies of water like Lake Agawam or Old Town Pond in the village. So we'll, of course, be supporting, or at least I'll be supporting that bond offering. I think it's a great idea. And I think that also means the idea came across. I thought it was an excellent State of the State, but we've never had a State of the Village before. So I thought it could be a good idea at some point this spring to have a State of the Village where we can invite, obviously, our board host, our committees, our community members, and have a more brief but public State of the Village address, which I think could talk about the wide variety of things that this board is working on together and what we could use community support for. So I think that would be a nice idea to try to implement that. And then after the State of the State, I had the opportunity to go to the governor's residence, and I saw Basil Segos, head of the DEC there. We chatted for a moment about Lake Agawam, got the opportunity to connect with Bill Mulrow, who was one of the highest appointed officials in New York State, and he does just come out to Southampton over the summer, so he's a big advocate of Southampton Village. So it's good to have his help and him, giving us guidance as well. So I just thought it was an excellent day and was happy to make the trip there yesterday. And just wanted to give thanks to Teresa Santoro, who's the Suffolk County liaison between our village and the state. I know Trustee Allen has an opportunity to work with her as well. She's excellent and help set that up. So I thought that was great. And just to elaborate on Trustee Allen's comments, one thing that will be coming forward is that, and we see Rob Coburn here, is that we'll be working with Alice Cooley, attorney for the ARB, as well as Chris Talbot, to implement a system where businesses can turn around their signs much faster. So instead of going in front of the ARB in the more traditional setting, and sometimes it's hard to get these meetings in, because I know many businesses have told me that they want to get a quick sign in right before Christmas or a quick sign in right before Memorial Day, and they will just have to wait for the 2 meetings per month. This way they can submit their application and within a week get their sign turned around if it's in with standard order. So I just wanted to thank the ARB, Rob Coburn, Chris Talbot, Alice Cooley, Alexandra for helping make this a possibility, and we hope to have this done prior to Memorial Day weekend, hopefully much sooner. So just to elaborate on a few plans for 2020 that we can address in the State of the Village. Things I've spoken about before that I think we must do. Number one is a business improvement district. This is a entity that other villages, such as the village of Patchogue, have set up as essentially a legal entity where businesses can get involved, essentially assess themselves, and determine how we can spend money to improve the village and work hand in hand with village resources in order to do so. So this has had a lot of success in other villages, so it's something that we want to put together the legal framework in hand with our village merchants and village property owners to do so. Secondly, we've discussed about a sewer district, but even if we want to institute our cluster program, we still need the legal entity of a sewer district. So this is also top priority for 2020. Getting the legal entity is actually more time consuming potentially than the engineering work, which at this point is been done before, but the legal entity requires a lot of work and a lot of time. So getting that legal entity in place is just as important, if not more important, than the actual engineering work. So we'll be working on that. We've been working closely with Gary Gillespie, and as Trustee Parrish very aptly pointed out, there's a need for budget funding as well as additional projects, and as Fran pointed out, to make sure that our streets are paved, our potholes are filled, our sidewalks are cleaned up and trimmed, and so these are things that are critical to making our village look good and for the constant maintenance that we need in 2020. Drainage is critical. We've spoken about bioswales as a way to use nature to help with our drainage, but also catch basins and other drainage options we'll be working on. We'll hopefully be requesting additional funding to fix the drainage on Main Street and Hampton Road, on Meeting House right in front of the ambulance barn, on David White's Lane in Hampton Road right in front of the Land Rover dealership, and really throughout the village. There's a lot of puddles or mini water bodies that have been accumulating, if you will. So these are some of the really important priorities of 2020. And then in addition, we want to, something I've spoken about before, but I'd love to see us work together to put this into place, something called an open data portal. We've seen it used in other communities, but essentially using new technology to aggregate all of our data so that any resident, whether you live in Southampton Village or just interested, anywhere around the country could essentially log into this data portal and look at every dollar that we've spent, whether it's from our capital budget, whether it's from our operating budget, look at work, what's been going on in the police department, making that even more transparent than it already is, looking whether it's a 911 phone call or any type of action, but just make our village as transparent as possible using new technology. I know this again has been used before, so it's nothing really new, but it's something that will take some time to execute and the right team in order to execute. So that's just something that I think will include some of the highlights of 2020, just to maybe tease what I'd like to state in the state of the village. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody. I'm looking forward to working with everyone here. We've got a great team, and we each bring our unique strengths to the table. So with that said, thank you for listening and for your time, and we'll move with second public comment. So if anyone who wishes to make public comment, please come, state your name, and we can move forward with that. Thank you, Rob.
It says state my name and address. So on the sheet, so I'll just say my name once. Rob Coburn, 345 Hill Street. And I'm here with comments wearing two hats. Let me just put on the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation hat to just follow up on the signage thing. For people who are interested, it will be on the agenda at our next meeting for discussion, unfortunately at the end of the meeting. But the proposal basically, as Jesse outlined, is to try to expedite most sign applications in 1 week. Just so people are clear, the proposal that's going to be put on the board will have two members of the BARHP review each application, and provided that each of them is okay with it, the application would be approved. If one of them believes it should be reviewed by the full board, it would go to the next meeting, which is what happens currently. My expectation personally is that something like 75 to 80% of the applications would be approved by those two members. That's the typical approval rate for signs. So it will move along in the vast majority of signs within a week, as you said. But if people are interested, people watching are interested in weighing in and learning more about this, they can come to the meeting on next Monday, the 13th. If I could just put on my Clean Water Committee hat for a moment. Thank you for your comments, Trustee Allen. Want to just mention a few things. I'll just underscore what people already know. It is a complex issue. It's multi-layered. It's not going to be solved by waving a wand. So we're operating on a lot of fronts, gathering information. We're getting tremendous support and input from Gary Gillespie. His name's been mentioned a lot tonight, but he is a real asset for the village on this. And he, I think, would admit, I don't want to speak for him, but he'll say he's on a big learning curve. But my personal observations is he's gone way up that learning curve already, and it's a big asset for the village and for our committee to have him serving as a liaison or ex officio. We are starting with Lake Agawam first on certain things, not entirely, but as Kimberly pointed out, I'll show for the cameras maybe, we do have a one-pager. I'll put it down for Charlie to pick up. And it's a work in progress, but the idea is to have one sheet that that highlights what the major initiatives are. There are sort of 3 sectors that will address water quality in Lake Agawam. I just want to make it clear also, our committee is not focused on Lake Agawam. It's a very useful tool. It is some of the worst problems, not only in the village, but in New York State. It gets a lot of press. People are very aware of it. But the mandate of the committee is certainly to look at all the freshwater bodies. We're using Agawam as a bit of a test case because there's other resources and energy that's going into trying to resolve that issue. So we would have a blueprint that would cover really each of the major bodies of water, both the freshwater and also the estuarial waters over at Hetty Creek. And that's part of our plan over the coming months. We are going to, we are an advisory committee, so our role is going to be to come to you with hopefully a lot of synthesized information to help you all get up the learning curve. You can help us get up the learning curve because some of you are already well up it, and to create tools that will help you and others in the village as we address these issues. We do have several recommendations that we've made. We've submitted to Russ already. I think they will be on your agenda at your next meeting, asking you to make some resolutions to just help us along in some initial stages. Some of those, by the way, actually outside of the formal recommendations, we are trying to consider what some of the budget implications will be, not of the substantive capital work that might be involved, but just some of the investigative work. There will be a need for some additional data. There'll be a need for some additional engineering. And we're trying to assess through Gary and others who are involved directly in this what some of those needs might be. We're going to make it's a sort of a SWAT team approach to addressing this issue. We've all become more aware, unfortunately, of the circumstances of our water quality. We still don't know what we don't know, and so part of getting to the right recommendations for you is going to be over the next, I think, 2 to 3 years or more, is from time to time coming and saying we really need to pilot this technology. We really need to do some additional studying of drainage characteristics in a certain area, and there may be requests or recommendations, I should say, from time to time, either from us as a committee to you or through Gary Gillespie for $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to do critical studies. And our thought is that that should be embedded or at least reflected, highlighted somehow in the budget. So we're working with Trustee Allen and we'll work with Gary on getting some recommendations for your upcoming budget process. We did submit, actually, about a month ago, a request on our new member. So I just ask, it doesn't sound like you're going into executive session tonight, but since it's a personal matter, if you are, we'd ask you maybe to consider it tonight. But we're grateful to have the interest of John Halsey, who is the president of the Taconic Land Trust and a village resident, to join the board. So we'd love to ask you to make that happen as soon as you can. And I guess that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any about what the Clean Water Committee is working on.
Sounds like you're working.
They are.
Counting the trees and doing all that.
Trees are an estimate. 200 miles of roads, 60 to 70 trees per mile.
You're actually really close because it's very similar to your number. They say about 15,000. That's what I was told. So that's pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for the sheet, because we'll hopefully submit that and distribute that at tomorrow's press session, too.
Yeah, and I should just mention, I can give you one for the record.
Yes,
this is still subject to some revision. We keep revising it as we learn more. The idea is really to give each of you or any village official, when they're sitting down with any other entity or person, or if a constituent, a resident comes in and asks you, what are we doing on water quality? It's not the be-all and end-all, and it doesn't cover the entire village, but it's a really concise way of framing out the problems for Agawam, which can be extended to others. So it's meant to put on one page, a good summary of the best possible solutions, and make it a graphically interesting and something that, we see. I should have mentioned, actually, we see part of our role through you as being just information resources and awareness raising agency. And so in addition to materials and tools like this, one of the proposals that we'll ask you to consider next time is a recommendation to move forward with an educational forum for residents to summarize the challenges on one half and then summarize some of the opportunities that they have for addressing at their own homes or in their own behaviors here in the village, ways that can improve water quality. So education is certainly a large part of it, and tools like this, whether it's for the public, can go up on the website, or for your use in meetings. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. A lot of stuff, good.
Yes. That said, I'd like to make a motion. Are we doing executive session tonight? Oh, good.
No.
Great. All right. I'd like to make a motion.
Is there someone else?
Any other public comments? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.